Find other great podcasts like this one at podmoth.network.
Everybody knows that true crime can be a real buzz killer. So why not pair it with a nice glass of wine?
Join us, Macy and Nicole, the hosts of Buzzkillers, a true crime podcast, as we drink our way through new bottles of wine every week, while navigating true crime cases, conspiracy theories, and even some spooky haunts.
The deep dives are kept light with banter and personal tales, and even the occasional boozy hiccup.
Listeners are encouraged to grab a drink of any kind and tune in every Sunday as we tell the tales of the wicked that plague this world.
Buzzkillers can be streamed on Apple Podcast, Spotify, Amazon Music, and anywhere else you like to listen. Check out our website, www.buzzkillerspodcast.com, for more information.
What's up, you guys? Nailed it.
I'm Kathryn.
And I'm Hayley.
And we are Saturdays for the Ghouls,
a Podmoth podcast.
How are you, Hayley?
I'm doing great, Kathryn. I just miss you, but that's fine.
I miss you too. Oh my goodness. We also have a guest here. We're having a friend moment for a second in front of a guest. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hello. How are you ladies doing?
Hi. We're doing fine.
You're doing fine.
How are you
That's
doing?
Good. I'm doing well. So this is Janine from the ODDentity Podcast, also a Podmoth podcast.
Woo!
And I guess I'm here today to talk about urban legends.
Yes, we are. We're going to talk about some spooky ooky urban legends.
Spooky ooky.
I mean, they don't have to be spooky ooky, whatever you guys came up with, I guess.
I mean, by definition, right? Spooky ooky is kind of where we're headed.
Ideally.
Yeah.
Haley and I do the spooky ookies. So, Haley, kick us off.
I'm going to be talking about the Jersey Devil.
Woo!
That was the long one. I'm sure I could do a lot more, but I was also running out of time. So
the Jersey Devil is a little complex.
It is.
I think I've almost done it myself.
I was like reading words and they were not making sense. And I was like, am I reading this right? All right. So the Jersey Devil, or it's also known as the Leeds Devil. It is an urban legend from the South Jersey, Philadelphia area. It inhabits the forest of pine barrens in South Jersey, and it is described as a flying biped, which means that it walks on 2 feet, and it has hooves, and there's many variations of it, but a common description is that it is like, it looks kind of like a kangaroo or a wyvern, which I had to look what a wyvern was because I didn't know what that was.
A wyvern?
It's a wyvern. Okay, that makes sense. See, I didn't know how to say it.
We needed Janine this episode.
Yeah, a wyvern. It is a 2-legged dragon.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
So he has like a dragon head and hoof feet.
Well, it's like it's more like a horse, isn't it?
That was my next line, Kathryn.
Sorry. I was just asking.
I know. But yes, it has a horse or goat-like head.
Oh.
With leathery bat wings, horns, little tiny arms, which kind of reminded me of a T-Rex, with clawed hands and legs with hooves, obviously, and a forked tail. And the most terrifying part to me, glowing red eyes.
Oh yeah, the red eyes.
I hate red eyes.
That sounds familiar.
Right,
I wonder where I've heard that a creature has glowing red eyes before.
I wonder where.
Yeah, this one, I feel like this one has been mistaken for Mothman, or they've been interchangeable for many years.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
The same that we did when we had Wendigo and Skinwalkers. They were like almost interchangeable, but they have different lore.
Yep.
Yeah, that's what an urban legend is, I would say. Like word of mouth. It's like that game Telephone.
Yeah, true.
It also, apparently, there's a described noise that it makes. And it's just a blood-curdling scream. Which I'm like, are you sure it's just not the person finding it?
Is it like that goat that you see? That meme?
Yes.
Where it's just like, ah!
That's probably
no
where
wonder
they
it's
got
a
it
blood
from.
curdling scream. He's got a goat head.
So this is the part where it gets like kind of like into like history or like origins. It was kind of confusing because it kind of jumps around a lot, but the reason why it's also known as the Leeds Devil is the story I'm about to explain. So 1736, way back in the day.
Yes.
There was a lady, she was called Mother Leeds, and apparently the Jersey Devil was her 13th child. So
her 13th reason.
Yes, exactly.
Oh no.
No, I'm just kidding.
Okay. I was like, no, please don't be right. Okay.
I mean, okay, the 13 does like tie in to it.
Oh no.
So there's a lot of different versions of the story of how it came to be, but it basically all has the same common outcome, is that the child turned into the creature. So yeah.
That's
so
interesting parenting.
I know. It's about to get more interesting. Hold on.
Oh no.
So one of the stories is that the mother was a witch. She became pregnant by a soldier, and I'm not sure if it was not consensual, whatever, but basically she hated the child and cursed it.
Oh.
And then there's another version. She was just so frustrated because she had 12 kids prior to this, and this was number 13, and she was just tired of them damn kids, I guess, and she was like, I'm going to curse this child.
I wonder if she knew what was causing that. I'm just kidding. I'm sorry. Probably didn't have a choice. I understand. I'm sorry. It was a long time ago.
Jeez. And I guess along with that, she said 13 meant that it was going to be the devil, because 13.
Oh.
And then there's another one that was like, the mother was a witch and she had relations with the devil to create a devil baby.
A Nephilim?
Yeah.
Is that what it is?
Is it a Nephilim? Probably.
I think so.
Yeah, that seems legit. If I were to go with an explanation, I would say witch had sex with the devil, demon baby.
Yeah. Yep. It does make more sense.
That's the trifecta right there.
Right.
But here's some more like actual history, possible realistic reasons on why. Historians said that due to gossip, because of course, and the times back then, the Leeds Devil, it actually pertained to Daniel Leeds. I don't know who he was to the mother Leeds in question, but from what I could read, there was some rivalry between him and Benjamin Franklin.
Oh.
I mean, Ben Franklin was always starting shit, so.
Seriously.
I don't know a lot about him other than he's on the hundreds, but but I was like, damn, he sounds like an asshole.
He also created this instrument that was made out of spinning bowls and water, but it sounds like demons screaming. Like it's the word. I mean, if you were ever at odds as to whether or not to call Ben Franklin an asshole, he created this musical instrument and it's horrible. People were said to go insane when they heard it.
Wow.
Yeah, it was that bad. So yeah, asshole.
Oh my gosh. Okay. But yeah, I guess he was the rival, and it resulted in the Leeds family being described as monsters, which when I was reading, it made more sense later. But Daniel Leeds, he became interested in astrology and things pertaining to Christianity and the cult, stuff like that. He wrote an almanac that involved astrology, and the Quaker community, they found it too pagan-like. So they censored his writings and basically dismissed him as being evil.
They would have thought that toilet paper was too pagan-like.
Right.
Fucking ice cubes were too pagan-like.
Fucking Quakers.
Right?
Pretty much. Let's see. Daniel's son Titan, he took over his almanac publishing business. 1716, he wrote an almanac, which rivaled with Ben Franklin's almanac, Poor Richard's Almanac. 1733. This is when it's kind of, he's such a dick. Sorry. 1733. Franklin satirically used astrology to predict Titan's death, and Titan basically wrote back something, basically wrote another almanac against him, and then Ben Franklin wrote another one basically saying that he was right, because it was after the date that he said that Titan was supposed to die. So he basically wrote and said that he was right and Titan's ghost is coming back to haunt him and write stuff against him. And he even, like, Franklin still even wrote stuff about Titan's ghost satirically and all that, jokingly, even after he actually died in 1738.
Interesting.
Yeah, he's an asshole.
Yeah. Sounds like it.
But let's see. 1728, so a little bit before, Titan started using their family crest on his publishing almanacs and stuff, which their crest was how'd you say it, Janine?
The wyvern?
Yes, I was going to say it right. Yeah, it was the wyvern. So a lot of people believe that that's where the Leeds devil came from, because they also owned the property that the Pines Barren is in. So a lot of people think this is where, like, the Leeds devil came around, and then it just turned into the Jersey Devil with gossip. And then I just have some sightings there's been sightings since the 1700s up until I think like 1990, 1980 was the last one that I could see. 1840, the Jersey Devil is blamed for many livestock killings, which most urban legends are.
Right.
In Greenwich, in December of 1925, a farmer killed an unidentifiable animal and was like, "It's the Jersey Devil, guys. No one can identify it." So it is what it is. In 1909, on the week January 16th to the 23rd, there was just an outburst of encounters and sightings of the creature. There was a lot of attacks at, like, establishments, on cars. There was accounts that police officers were firing at said creature and there was no effect to it. There was another sighting that started out as just, oh, there's strange footprints in the snow. And then it turned into actual people seeing the creature throughout South Jersey and even as far as Delaware and, like, Maryland. And it was being published all in the newspapers, and it basically caused such a panic that schools were closing down. There was people staying home from work, and then vigilante groups started. And they started storming the woods trying to find it.
Interesting. I would totally call out sick because of the Jersey Devil. Totally.
Right.
I always find it really interesting, especially with the cryptozoological aspects of some urban legends. I hesitate to call them urban legends just because they're cryptozoological in nature, but I'm old school. But I find it really interesting that, the urban legend becomes reality through this kind of process of ostension. I don't know. Ostension, you know what ostension is?
No.
Vaguely.
No. Okay, so ostension literally means, like, the process of showing or exhibiting.
Oh.
So somebody says, like, for example, Ronald Clark O'Brien poisoned Halloween candy and he killed his son with a poisoned pixie stick. He tried to pin it on a neighbor, saying that the neighbor poisoned the candy. But anyway, long story short, people have been saying for years that Halloween candy is being poisoned. People are putting needles in it. People are putting razor blades in it. And then one person decides that they're going to twist that urban legend and make it true, because that's actually never happened. Like, you're not going to wander up to a drug dealer's house and they're going to give you free fentanyl.
Right.
It's not going to happen. Promise you, it's not going to happen. But he took that urban legend and he took people's existing fears and he twisted it so that he could create his own kind of alibi, I guess, through this process of ostension. So it's just kind of interesting that, people are seeing sightings, whatever. And then all of a sudden there's, like, this rising up of people saying, we're going to become vigilantes and, go and bring me the head of the... It's like Beauty and the Beast, right? Bring me the head of the beast.
Right.
And then everybody has to run out and, get involved or whatever.
Right.
And a GoFundMe is started and all of that stuff. So it's just interesting to me.
Right. Last couple things. So it was rumored around that same time in 1909 that the Philadelphia Zoo had posted a $10,000 reward for the creature, which, funnily enough, obviously created a lot of fakes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I bet.
So one I thought was kind of funny. It says someone brought a kangaroo that they equipped with artificial claws and put bat wings on it.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, kangaroos are horrifying to begin with.
They are pretty scary. They'll deck you.
Oh, for sure.
They will. But yeah, other than all that, I just thought it was funny that all these people were, like, terrified of this monster, and now it's like there's merch. There's merch now.
There's merch.
Yeah, I think you'd be hard pressed to find a cryptid that does not have merch.
Right.
They're very well connected, or a social media presence.
Right. So
And that's it.
That's the Jersey Devil?
That's all I got, folks.
Wow. Janine, it's your turn.
Oh, it's my turn. Okay, so as I said before, I'm kind of a purist. I'm a bit of an aficionado when it comes to urban legends. So my urban legends basically center around one man who is Jan Harold Brunvand, who is an amazing gentleman who actually invented the term urban legend to describe a lot of these different stories. So I basically have everything that he's ever written. I talked to him about coming on my podcast, and he was like, I'm old and I just want to fish. And I was like, that's cool, dude. I totally get it. Because he's like in his 80s now.
Oh.
So I'm like fangirling to this 80-year-old man, and he's like, yeah, no, totally not interested, dude. But he was really nice, and he gave me a list of some of his cohorts in the genre. So he said, drop my name and, whatever. I'll hook you up with all of these other weirdos. And I was like, cool, sounds good. So my first one is probably one of my favorite urban legends of all time, and it's the Choking Doberman. Are either of you familiar with the Choking Doberman?
No.
Okay, so the Choking Doberman. There is a woman who comes home from work later in the evening, and she comes in her house, she drops everything off, she goes into the bedroom to start getting undressed, and she starts to hear this choking noise. And she has a Doberman pinscher who is in the other room, and he's choking on something, and he's asphyxiating. So she gathers up the dog, and she rushes him to the vet, and the vet says, he has to go into surgery, so there's nothing really that you can do for him right now, and it's kind of late, so why don't you just, go home, and we'll call you when the dog comes out of surgery, and we'll kind of talk about next steps. And she's like, okay, yeah, that's fine. So she goes home, and she's in her car, she gets in the driveway, she gets out of her car, she's walking up to the house, and the phone rings, and it's the vet. And the vet says, whatever you do not go in your house. And she's like, why? I don't understand. Why can't I go in my house? He's like, so we just finished doing surgery on your dog to try to pull whatever was blocking his airway out, and it was 3 human fingers. So she hangs up the phone with the vet, calls the police come. They go into the house, they go into the back bedroom where she was getting undressed, and they pull a guy out of the closet. And he's half passed out because he's lost so much blood, but he's missing 3 fingers. And next to him on the floor is a huge butcher knife. That is my favorite urban legend.
Oh my God.
I love that one. And, I wasn't sure if you were looking for longer ones.
No, that's perfect.
Or shorter ones. But yeah, that's one of my all-time favorite urban legends.
That's crazy.
I love telling them too.
Yes.
It's just so great to be able to tell it to somebody who doesn't already know it.
I've been, ruined by the internet. So I find my urban legends wherever I can find them.
Sure. And I feel too, a lot of the, the younger generation are coming up with their own urban legends, inventing them on their own, but they're not specifically urban legends. They're more they fall into the realm of creepypastas.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm kind of a purist. If it's approved by Brunvand, then
it's
I'm all
approved
good,
by you.
Whatever. But yeah, Slender Man, I wouldn't consider Slender Man an urban legend. Sasquatch, the Loch Ness Monster, Jersey Devil, Mothman, they're not urban legends. They're, cryptids.
Right.
So they all fall into their own different categories.
Right.
But urban legends, generally, when you tell somebody an urban legend, you're telling them to be aware of something.
Right.
That perhaps otherwise they wouldn't normally be aware of.
Right.
A lot of them are morality tales, or for example, I got an email, I think it was Tuesday of this week. I was grading some papers and it popped up, hey, be aware, in the Milwaukee area, there was a lady that had her Achilles tendons cut because there was some guy hiding under her car at the gas station and cut her tendons.
Ow.
And, whatever, and it's just not true. It doesn't happen. But something as mundane as going to the gas station, you don't expect anything to happen.
Right.
You're just going, you're going to go to fill up your car, you're going to be there maybe 10 minutes and you're going to go home and everything's going to be fine. But the fact that, we also have to consider, but maybe somebody is hiding in the back seat, but maybe somebody is under my car, maybe somebody is following me and I, whatever, I'm just not paying attention. I'm not aware of it.
Right.
So urban legends are kind of like that scratching of a scab almost.
Yeah.
It's there,
Right.
It's just a matter of just waiting until, it comes to your subconscious or comes out of your subconscious into your conscious life.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Well, it's my turn, I think, right?
I promise I'm not a pompous ass either. I come off like that.
We didn't think you were pompous.
Like all the time.
No, I'm just kidding.
Wow.
No, we totally don't think that. We like the like actual urban legends because we don't really, I guess, do technically in your definition all urban legends. Sure. We kind of do a little bit of everything: conspiracies, cryptids, things like that. I love that one. So my first one is the Fresno Nightcrawlers, which would be a cryptid, I guess. They've only been seen like a handful of times, a couple times, and most of them, all of them except for one, was in California. Somehow also someone in Poland has seen them once, which is it's kind of far for them to get, but
they must have traveled. Clearly they traveled.
Right.
They don't just crawl.
Yeah. So the first time that they were ever seen, this man, Jose, he caught it on his CCTV camera outside of his house. And what they're described as, like, in appearance is that they appear to be pretty short, about 4 feet tall. And their height is made up mostly of legs. And they have a very short torso/head. So, and then they kind of look like they're walking on stilts and almost like their like knees are backwards, if that makes sense.
That's weird.
Yeah. And so they look like these stilts of legs walking through this like grass area. And like if you look up Fresno Nightcrawlers, you'll see the video. It's eerie. So and they're about like a gray color, but I don't necessarily know if they're really truly gray or it's just because all of the videos that I've ever seen were black and white. But I'm assuming there's some sort of like light gray color. And when Jose saw them, he woke up to his dogs barking in the middle of the night, and he looked on his camera and he saw these. He woke up his brother and showed him the video, and they went outside and they saw these small footprints. So they called investigators. Now, when they say they called investigators, I'm not sure if they like called the police or who they called, but by the time those investigators arrived, all of the evidence for the Fresno Nightcrawlers had been washed away, which, you know, might mean that it never happened. But the only evidence of them is like 1 or 2 grainy videos of these little legs, basically. Now the sci-fi show Fact or Faked covered them, and they deemed them unexplainable. So they didn't give it like a fact or faked like stamp on there, but it's seemingly like they're unexplainable in nature. So
okay, so I'm watching this video. It literally just looks like somebody put balloons in a pair of pants.
Yeah. And they pulled them all the way up to their neck. You know how have you ever seen those people who like pull their pants all the way up to their neck? And they like walk around.
Like my grandma?
That's like what it looks like.
Okay. I don't want to be judged, but I knew as soon as you like said it, Kathryn, and then you talked about the stilts.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God, I've seen the show. And then you said Fact or Faked, and I was like, yep, that's what I saw. I watched this when I was like 12 years old. That episode scared the shit out of me. It is still in my head. Like, I hated them things. Like, I was like, they look so creepy.
They do look pretty creepy. So like whenever I think of like a cryptid, this is the first thing that pops in my brain because I've seen the videos of them. So like, you know, you kind of like have to fill in the gaps for most like cryptids because there's not always videos. But because this one I've seen the video multiple times, like if anyone talks about anything like that, I always think of the Nightcrawlers. So anyway. Yeah,
that's interesting. I mean, like, so the video that I watched, they inverted it.
Oh.
So you kind of like pick up different aspects of the figure.
Right.
And it looks like it has legs, but it also looks like it's just a person under a sheet.
Yeah.
Like a longer sheet.
Yeah.
It just looks weird.
I kind of would classify the pants as like parachute pants, you know?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, like MC Hammer pants.
Yes. Yeah.
Those are great.
So, that's mine. Hayley, it's your turn.
Hey.
Okay.
This one's a little short, but this is the, I guess, lore of, I'm going to butcher this, but it's Minwashitu.
Okay.
Yeah, I got nothing.
I was waiting for Janine to be like, it's
yeah, I know.
What is it? Can you spell it?
It's Minwashitu.
Oh, yeah, no, I got
You
nothing.
lost me a W.
It's all the vowels, dude. It's the vowels that are throwing me off.
which basically all that means is water monster.
Let's call it that.
Monster?
Yeah, so yeah, water monster. It's the Missouri River monster is what I got. A lot of like legends or lore is based off of like Native American lore, which is where this one's from. It's not a very well known one, which I'm assuming is why they call it water monster. It doesn't have any like specific name.
Right.
But basically, it's just a monster that you see in the middle of the stream, and it has like a red shine, like a red shines through the water. It is said to be compared to fire, and it passes through the water with a loud roar.
So it's subtle.
Yes.
Because if you see it during the daytime, soon you will go crazy and you'll become restless until death relieves you from your burden.
I hate when the stories go like as soon as you know, or like whenever you see it, you're gonna die.
I know you're gonna be editing this and be like, stay away from water. Stay away. It is described as a strange figure with hair all over like a buffalo, which I'm like, there's a lot of things with hairs all over other than a buffalo, but it's red in color. It has one eye in the middle of its forehead. It gets cuter. It has one single horn. It's got human hands.
What?
It's got hooves. It's also a biped, so it walks on 2 feet. Its backbone sticks out and is
too
rigid.
many different characteristics for one.
I know. And very saw-like. And it just has a terrifying roar. And that is all.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a
Essie
strange
has
one.
nothing on that.
It's in North Dakota, which I was like, the name is very misleading.
Right. Interesting. All right. Janine, it's your turn.
Oh, is it my turn again? Okay. So my second favorite urban legend is probably one that you've heard before, the legend of the Hook Man.
I feel like I've heard it,
Yes.
but not like all together.
Yeah.
I have a game.
What?
I have a game
Oh,
called The Hookman.
you do?
Oh.
Yeah, it's like based around the urban legend.
Oh.
Oh, that's interesting. Right. So the Hookman urban legend originally appeared in, I believe it was in the 1950s in a Dear Abby column. I don't know if either of you remember Dear Abby,
I do.
but she was the advice columnist, and you would write into her and, you know, Dear Abby, how can I better please my husband? Dear Abby, please teach me how to make another disgusting Jell-O mold with salad in it shaped like a fish. You know, that kind of stuff in the 50s.
Yes.
It's a morality tale, which is another one of my favorite things about urban legends. So the story has like 2 or 3 different renditions depending on who's telling it. And the renditions are also dependent on who has seen the film Urban Legends. Because if you've seen the film Urban Legends and then you try to tell the urban legend about the Hookman, you basically just tell the urban legend the way that you've seen it in the movie, which is not the original way it was told. So the original way it was told was a young couple get into their parents' car and they go up to Lover's Lane. And they're sitting there and it's very dark. There's romantic music on the radio and they start, you know, necking or making out up there on the Lover's Lane.
Woohoo.
And all of a sudden, there's a news bulletin comes over the radio, and it says, you know, everybody stay in your homes, lock your doors, because a crazed madman has escaped the local insane asylum, and he has a large hook for a hand, and so everybody should take cover and take shelter. And so instantly, the young lady is like, I want to go home. I don't want to be here. This is not, you know, this is not fun for me anymore. Like, we need to go now and, like, go on lockdown because this is some crazy shit. And the guy is like, no, you know, like, come on, babe. No,
Always.
come on, babe. And is like, you know, trying to still get her to do stuff and, like, even hand stuff. Like, he'll take anything. And she's like, no, you know, dude, we got to go home. So he's like, well, fine, fuck it, whatever, you know, and he's pissed off and he puts the car in gear and they drive back to her house and he goes to drop her off. And as he gets out of the car and he comes around to open up her side of the car door, he looks down and there is a bloody hook hanging on the side of the car
Oh.
off the door handle.
Uh-huh.
Another rendition is she hears strange noises and she immediately wants to leave. So it's a combination of hearing it on the radio and the strange noises, the scratching sounds. She doesn't like it and she wants to leave. The third one is she hears strange noises. The guy goes to check
Right.
And then she hears the strange noises again. It's like a scraping noise on the hood of the car.
Right.
And she gets out and looks, and it's him hanging upside down, and he's like gutted, and his fingers are scraping the top of the car.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, there's 2 or 3 different renditions. People make up their own renditions all the time, but it's basically, it's all the same, right? It's a morality tale, tell your kids not to go to lovers' lanes because teen pregnancy is real. And then we have this, concept of a hook as a penetrative object. And we also have the young man who is trying to get his hooks into a young girl. So there's all of this, kind of imagery. But yeah, so second favorite urban legend.
Yeah, I remember that from Supernatural.
Yeah.
They had an episode of Hookman. And the one that I think that I always hear is the one where the guy gets gutted and like hangs above the car.
Yep.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, I also have a man. It's the Bunny Man. And back in 1901, there was a mental hospital in this somewhat nice area in Virginia. The people around in that who have like houses and stuff in that neighborhood or whatever, they didn't want the mental institution there. And so the mental institution had to shut down. And so that while they were transporting the patients from that mental institution to the other places close by and around, one of the buses got into an accident, and they did gather all but one patient. Was never technically found, but they started around this bridge. It's called the Colchester Overpass, which was near where the bus crashed. They started seeing like bunnies being like mutilated and hung up, and just like murdered bunnies were starting to like appear all over. And so soon the tale rolled into, he did it to kids, and he did it. And that part never obviously happened. But as into like the 70s and the 80s, there was later a police report or an incident where a United States Air Force cadet was with his fiance. They were out in like a field after a football game, and they were going back to their car. And in the car, they had gotten like one of the windows was smashed out, and they like drove away really fast, and they saw this white figure as they were driving away. And when they got back, they saw this axe in the back of their car, which they all say that the Bunny Man uses an axe to take its prey or whatever. And the cadet, he said that the man was dressed in all white and he had bunny ears. And so because of that sighting, it started up again in and around Virginia. And then supposedly just a little bit later in that same month, in October of 1970, there was a man named Paul Phillips, and he was a security guard in a construction, like a neighborhood that was like under construction. And he approached a man that was in front of one of the houses, and he was chopping at the porch of the house with an axe, yelling about how like he was going to chop your head off. And the police ended up dismissing that due to no evidence of it. But in the coming weeks, supposedly there was 50 sightings by people, and they were trying to find the Bunny Man anywhere they could in Virginia. But likely it was just a person, not really a bunny man. Obviously.
I think that's so cute.
Yeah, he's just a little bunny man.
That's interesting, actually, too. I remember when I was a kid, there were a bunch of stories about killer clowns.
Yeah.
And I actually think that I want to say Chicago, there were a bunch of sightings.
Oh.
Like around playgrounds and shit like that. And people were really up in arms. And then a few years ago, it started up again, where people were starting to see just random clowns. And they're not doing anything. They're just kind of like standing in the dark.
Right.
Like watching people.
Right.
And that was like a big, people got freaked out by that or something. Because, I mean, calorophobia is a real thing. I don't like fucking clowns.
They're pretty creepy.
But yeah, I mean, it has a lot to do with people covering their faces.
Yes, yeah.
For me, you don't know who's behind the mask kind of thing. And it's very deceptive to me. And that's just one of the things that I don't like.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. It does, like you said, it seems to coincide with something that's coming up in the media or on TV.
Right. Hayley, tell us a cute urban legend right now. Get our minds off of it.
Did you say right meow?
Right meow.
Right meow. What a coincidence. Because my urban legend is about ghost kitties.
Lay gasp.
Lay gasp.
Nothing too specific. I just have
Just like cats become ghosts, the end.
that's pretty much. Anyway,
Oh.
no, okay. There's a little bit. So there's been a lot of different sightings of ghost kitties, and we'll start with Arizona.
Okay.
So in this small town, ghost town, Jerome, Arizona, it was considered the Las Vegas of the Old West. It eventually became a ghost town after their copper mine closed down after World War II. The town completely became deserted. And today, visitors have reported seeing and hearing ghost cats at the Grand Hotel. It used to be a hospital. Apparently, there's a cat that roams around on the 3rd floor. No one knows why. And also the Mile High Inn, which is actually, it sounds really bad, but I was looking stuff up, like where this place is. It's a different name now, but it's like, you can also stay there, but its cover is like, it looks just like a restaurant, but you can actually stay up top. And it looked really nice, and the food looked so good. Anyway, off topic.
Okay.
But the story behind the kitty on that one. So the theory goes, the Mile High Inn, it used to be a brothel that was owned by Madame Jenny Banter. Eventually, she was forced out of Main Street because people thought her business was ungodly, you know.
Okay.
She did unfortunately die at the hands of a client, and legend says that she returned to her roaming grounds along with her pampered kitty cat. And people say that they see the cat darting around the corners and vanishing, and they hear meows and sharpening of its claws. And that's all for Arizona. But
cute.
also, I know it's kind of like cute, but also like unsettling at the same time.
Just a little bit.
So we have Georgia next. The Davenport House in Savannah. There are reports of a white and orange tabby, which doesn't sound threatening or creepy, but when you go there with your child, and the child there's a museum there. So it says that kids will visit the museum and they'll often call out to a kitty and it's not there.
Oh.
Like only they can see it.
Oh no, absolutely not. Throw the kid out. No, thank you.
It's a kid's fault.
It's a bad. Did you try turning it off and on again? It's a bad kid.
I got 2 more areas. Apparently, Australia, instead of ghost kitties, they have phantom cats.
Oh,
which
they sound like superheroes,
right? Phantom cats.
Maybe because of Danny Phantom. That's why I think that. But
sure.
Phantom. Yeah, but the only difference is they're not kitties, they're cats, because apparently they're referring to the big boy cats, like the panthers.
Oh. So like Phantom Panther. That sounds even more like a superhero.
Phantom Panther?
Yeah.
Apparently there's phantom cat sightings all over the world, but Australia has a very long history of sightings. I'm like, of course it'd be Australia. But it is said that Gippsland phantom cats, which apparently is what's seen around the Australian area, they're offspring of 2 cougars that U.S. airmen brought over during World War II and released into the bushes. I don't know why. There was literally nothing else about that other than when people see them, they show up just long enough for them to take an interesting picture. And then when they call someone to do like an official government investigation, they're gone.
Oh.
Nowhere to be seen. It's like smile and wave, boys, and then leave.
Smile and wave, boys. And then those cats I've come across that I just thought were real cows.
You know, when you get that like itch on your leg, just to like brush up against something and there's nothing there.
Stop.
Sorry.
I'm scared now.
I'm sorry. Anyway, okay. Last one. So Washington, D.C., because of course, it is said that there is a specific cat that appears at the White House or U.S. Capitol before elections and national tragedies. And it's said that there was a supposed sighting of a said cat at the assassination of Lincoln.
Yeah, the black cat at the White House. Yeah.
Which is called Demon Cat.
Mm-hmm.
Cute.
Or DC. DC?
Yeah. It's very creative.
That is
I know.
very creative.
That must have took them a long time to figure that out. But that is the ghost kitties and phantom cats and demon cats.
Cute. I want a ghost cat. No, I don't.
Ghost
Don't
cat.
send me a ghost cat. Okay.
They're probably really easy to take care of.
Probably. No litter box. You don't have to feed them.
Right. Well, although, I mean, if they're vengeful ghost cats, then they're just going to shit everywhere.
Yeah.
It's going to happen.
Yikes.
You just hear, like, you don't see it, or you just get like the slight smell. You're like, what is that?
Ew.
You, like, step in something and you're like, what the oh, come on.
DC. We talked about this.
Oh, man.
All right, Janine.
All right, so we're going from ghost cats to other creepy pets. The next one that I have is the Mexican pet.
Okay.
There are a bunch of different renditions of this one as well, but this is the one that I happened upon first, and I was like, this is fine. I was having one of those days where, like, there was a dumpster on fire, and I just was like, this is fine.
This is fine. Everything's fine.
So this is my third favorite urban legend.
Okay.
Sam's parents promised that they would get him something when they went to Mexico, but everything was just too pricey. Read that Sam's parents were cheap asses. They sat on a park bench and tried to think of something that he would like. Suddenly, a strange dog came up to them, and it struck them. The dog pulled out a bat and started... No. The way that this sentence is worded, it's just... the thought struck them. Even though it was illegal to bring animals over the border, they bought a cage, and they got the stray, and they took him home with them. Sam was so excited when they showed him his new dog. He started to pet it, but its mouth started to foam white, and the dog bit him.
Oh.
They took the dog to the vet, and Sam to the hospital. The doctor gave Sam rabies shots, and they told him to be more careful. They went back to the vet, and they asked the veterinarian if he had given the dog any rabies shots, and the vet told them yes, and that he had also let the dog go. And they asked the parents asked the vet why, and the veterinarian told them that it was an extremely large sewer rat, and it indeed had rabies.
Oh my God.
I don't know why the vet would let an animal go that had rabies.
Right.
I don't know if they mean they let the dog go like he put it to sleep. I have no idea. This is fine.
This is fine. Oh my God.
That's just where I was. But yeah, it's one of those, the white folks go to Mexico.
Right.
And they, have whatever, this idea in their head that they're going to do this anyway, even though it's illegal because they're white and whatever, they can get away with it.
Yeah.
And then they pack this thing in a crate and they bring it home, and their ignorance comes back to literally bite them.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Rabies. That's crazy. All right. So my last one is the Silverpilen Ghost Train, which is also referred to as the Silver Arrow. So in the 60s in Stockholm, the Stockholm Metro bought 8 aluminum trains. And generally, the trains would be painted green in that area. But these ones, they kept in like the state that they bought them. So they were all silver, and they had like no advertisements on them, no nothing. And the insides were like dirtier, dingier, less, also had no advertisements. And it was just not as a magical experience as you would get on a normal one, which I understand, like the metro is not like magical, but there's lights and advertisements and stuff. Anyway, so they purchased these ones to help fill in if ever any of the green trains broke down. So because they were only for just in cases, they were only rarely seen. And so because they were rarely seen, the people of Stockholm, they started talking and saying that the train was like a ghost train. And so they said that they've never seen anybody get on it. And if they do get on it, they never are seen again, or they're gone for months and then they come back out of nowhere. And so, they always say like, don't get on the silver train. Don't get on the silver train. I mean, I guess you have to in some cases if the green train's down, but there was
like, sorry, boss, I'm going to be late for work. Why?
Yeah, the
silver train, man.
Out.
Can't do it. It's going to fucking Bermuda Triangle my ass away. I just can't.
Right. If you guys want me to come back to work next week, just let me not come in today.
Right? I'm going to come back to work next week missing. I'm just letting you know.
Right.
That's going to happen.
And then throughout the 70s, the legend began to spread more and more through the commuters. And then there was a new train station that was about to be built. So there was a lot of it lost funding in the middle of the project. So it was kind of like a bare bones station. So then that only fed into the legend that this ghost train stops at that station to drop off people at their last stop. And so the locals say that only the dead people get off on the stop that is not finished. And I mean, it doesn't stop there ever, but anyway. And then in the 1990s, all of the silver ones were decommissioned and they no longer are seen anymore. But the next time you see a silver train, there may be a ghost passenger making its way to its final stop. Ooh. Just a little spook for you.
I mean,
I know. I was like, I love how you ended that. Like a spooky.
Tried to give you a spooky at the end. Well, that was all I had. Well, thank you guys for bringing us your urban legends, and thank you for listening to the urban legends. I loved all of your guys' stories, though.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.
Cats.
What?
I said ghost cats.
Ghost cats. Janine, would you like to shameless self-promote right now? You got the floor. It's all yours.
I mean, I'm always up for a shameless self-promotion. So the Identity Podcast is a proud member of the Podmoth Media Network, and you can find me basically anywhere you binge your podcasts. I believe I'm on every podcatcher that there is. If you want to find me on Twitter, it's @IdentityPod. If you want to find me on TikTok, it's @IdentityPod. If you want to find me on Instagram, it is, you guessed it, @IdentityPod.
Nice.
I was like, let me guess.
Let me guess, yeah. Identity Pod.
All the mystery is gone now.
Right. Every time I type identity, I get mixed up with the T's and the I's at the end.
Yeah.
I'm just dyslexic. That's just my problem. So yeah, go check her out and listen to her podcast. It's great. And Spooky Babes, Hayley, Spooky Babes, Janine.
we just left. Bye.
Yeah, we end the podcast right there. No, we are glad that you joined us. Don't forget to drink your water. Squeeze the day if you'd like to squeeze the day.
Oh my God, are you wearing your lemon?
I'm not wearing lemon today. I'm wearing Dunder Mifflin today.
Oh,
and the world's a better place with you in it. And we will see you
in your nightmares.